Excuse me. Let me see if I'm live here. Let me see if I'm live. Do. Here we go. Let me mute this so we don't get an echo. YOLO, mofos. There's no possible way that people could, like, wear rubber masks at all. I mean, there's no way, like, and get it fixed right there. You got to get glue for the inside of the eyes. But if it's some good enough, latex, it'll sit on your face quite nicely. You could pick your ears. You can pick your nose. You could eat and drink in it. You could, you could even smoke in it, From a distance on camera, you think you might mistake somebody. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Hey, how's it going, Linda? I mean, what is real? Do you know what real is? You never know. Anyway, we're going to start the show here. This is just me playing around in a low-end latex mask that fits quite nicely. I mean, look. It goes all the way around. I didn't pay the extra for the hair, and this is actually old. I bought this years ago. And so just imagine what, like, the CIA and people have. Get nice on your eyes there. Oh, yeah. Looks like part of your skin. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, don't you? Yes, that's me under there. That's me under there. Anyway, let's start the show. I'll mute myself, and here we go.
She was living in a single room with 3 other individuals. One of them was a male, and the other two were females. God only knows what they were up to in there. And furthermore, Susan, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to learn that all 4 of them habitually smoke marijuana cigarettes. Marijuana cigarettes.
Welcome to Mountain High Time here on Revolution.Radio, one of the last free speech venues out there. And it's becoming increasingly worse about censorship. I was just going over some of my YouTube channels, and a lot of them are being partially banned. It's like different countries Echo.
Los Angeles 2028 organizers said Saturday they will force spectators to take public transportation to Olympic venues and encourage remote working in a bid to sidestep the gridlocked city's notorious traffic problems. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said 2028 Chiefs want the LA Olympics to be the no-car games by investing in public transportation and encouraging Angelenos to adopt pandemic-style remote working for the duration of the event. The no-car games means that you will have to take public transportation to get to all of the venues, Bass told a press conference ahead of Sunday's Paris Olympics closing ceremony. In order to do that, we have been building out our transportation system. The plan would require borrowing more than 3,000 buses from other parts of the United States, she added. Bass was adamant, however, that Los Angeles' traffic, where rush hour congestion can lead to car journeys of just a few miles taking an hour or more, would not be a problem, citing the history of the 1984 Olympics in the city. In 1984, Angelenos were terrified that we were going to have terrible, terrible traffic, she said, and we were shocked that we didn't. And in 1984, we didn't have any of the technology that we do today. She added that city officials 40 years ago encouraged employers to stagger shifts or allowed workers to work remotely to great success. I think we can do that again, Bass said. So part of having a no-car Olympics means getting people not to drive, but also using public transportation to get to the games. We certainly learned from COVID that you have essential workers, people that must come to work. But if you limit it to that, it's going to be a lot easier because we did go through COVID. So people will have some reference point in recent history as to how you can do that. Bass said the city would also aim to house Los Angeles' estimated 75,500 homeless population before the Olympics. Asked if Los Angeles would follow Paris's example by moving several thousand homeless people in the build-up to the Olympics to locations outside the city, Bass replied, "We are going to get Angelenos housed. That is what we have been doing, and we're going to continue to do that. We will get people housed. We will get them off the street. We will get them into temporary housing. We will address the reasons why they were unhoused and get them into permanent housing. Sunday's closing ceremony in Paris will mark the formal start of the countdown to the Los Angeles Olympics, with the city offering a preview of what to expect in 2028 as the curtain comes down in the French capital. I think authentically LA is what you'll see in tomorrow's closing ceremonies as a first step," LA 28 Chairman Casey Wasserman said. "We don't have an Eiffel Tower, we've got the Hollywood sign, we've got incredible venues, we've got incredible geography, and we're going to showcase that both physically and in the way we show up, which I think people will get a sense of tomorrow."
It's 1776 worldwide, to whom it may concern, in the UK, Europe as a whole, to those treasonous snakes in bodies of governance in the United States of America, and to free people everywhere. We humbly ask you to reread, retain, and remember, because there's no place left to hide from tyranny on God's green earth. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Let me repeat that, all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government, and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them, by a mock trial, from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offences, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighbouring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavoured to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
That's very dirty.
In February of 2022, President Joe Biden threatened the Nord Stream pipeline.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
1 month later, he was a harbinger for World War III.
We're showing a strength and we'll never falter. But look, the idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III, okay? Let's get it straight here, guys.
6 months later, the Nord Stream pipeline was destroyed by NATO forces. NATO forces who overthrew the Ukraine government 10 years ago. NATO forces who have been building bioweapons labs and missile systems along the Russian border for decades. And now, NATO forces are discussing plans to deploy advanced long-range weapons to target deep into Russia, which would most definitely trigger a full-scale war with Russia. Vladimir Putin responded yesterday to this major escalation. He said that this is an attempt at manipulation, because it is not about allowing or forbidding the Kiev regime from striking inside Russia. They are already doing that with drones, flying devices, and other means. But when it comes to using AI precision weapons, long-range Western-made ones, that's a completely different story. The point is, and I've already mentioned this, any experts could confirm this, both ours and Western ones, that the Ukrainian army is not capable of launching strikes with modern, high-precision, long-range, Western-made systems. This is only possible with the use of a proprietary system, which Ukraine does not have. This information comes only from European Union or United States satellites, essentially NATO satellites. That is the first thing. And very importantly, maybe the key thing, is that flight missions on these rocket systems can basically only be programmed by military personnel from NATO countries. Ukrainian servicemen are not able to do this. That's why it's not about allowing the Ukrainian regime to strike Russia with these weapons or not allowing it. It's about deciding whether NATO countries directly participate in the military conflict or not. If this decision is made, it will mean nothing less than the direct involvement of NATO countries, the United States and European countries in the war in Ukraine. This is their direct involvement, and it significantly changes the nature of the conflict. It would mean that NATO countries, the USA and European countries, are at war with Russia. And if so, given the change in the nature of the conflict, we will make the corresponding decisions based on the threats posed to us. After somehow triggering pagers, radios, mobile phones, and solar panels to indiscriminately explode in public places within Lebanon, more innocent lives have been cut short by the terrorist state of Israel.
This is a heinous act of terrorism. We understand perfectly well that with such actions they are trying to bring the region to a global confrontation, to strike children, civilians, women, in order to stir up public sentiment and set the Middle East on fire, so that it's all in flames. But there is another important point. This is a terrorist attack that obviously could not have been carried out by a suicidal loner or just a suicide bomber or someone in a state of complete madness. This is a terrorist attack planned with a cool head, an extensively planned one. All the signs are there of an international terrorist attack, because it is obvious that in order to gather such a large amount of equipment, it had to be brought in crossing several borders. Obviously, there is an international trail in this, and it should be investigated accordingly. Now the reaction of the West should be indicative. If the West remains silent and, as always, does not insist on an investigation, does not talk about human rights, does not repeat its rhetoric of many years, which they have used in similar cases when terrorist acts were committed on their territory, then this will be proof of their direct engagement.
While the majority of the world cries out for an end to this maniacal bloodshed, in America, the political left, the religious right, and the brainwashed masses are all in. It seems like Americans just can't get enough war. As Ukraine attacks deep in Russia, Israel has now begun heavy bombing in Lebanon, which signals the beginning of something much bigger.
Is this the beginning of a major regional confrontation between Lebanon and its allies and Israel?
I think so. The Israelis have said that the reason they initiated this cyber attack, probably one of the largest in history, was because the Arabs were beginning to catch on. In other words, people in Hezbollah and in Lebanon and probably the Iranians had begun to figure out, or at least detect, that something like this could happen. And so they felt that they had to initiate it quickly in order to derive some benefit from it. I think the issue right now is not whether or not we're going to support them. We've made it very clear that if they go into Lebanon and this war widens, that we will support them. So I don't think there's much question there. The problem is, how long can we keep all the ships at sea? And I think we're going to see this offensive into Lebanon start fairly quickly now, because we're telling Mr. Netanyahu, we can't sit around waiting for you to do something. So if you're going to do something, you'd better do it quickly, because we can't be out here much longer. But no, we're going to support the Israelis. There's no question about that. And I think they all know that if they back away from their original goals, which is to essentially eliminate the Arab populations in the West Bank and Gaza, that's really where they want to go, and now in southern Lebanon, that they're going to have to accept something else. So I think the Israeli government, the Israeli people, the Israeli Defense Force, everyone is in the same boat. It's either we win or we go down with the ship, which is a terrible position to be in. And no one in Washington seems to be interested in helping them out. I mean, we think we're helping them by giving them anything they want. In fact, we've put them on a road to suicide, in my judgment.
This is Greg Reese for Infowars.com. I am here in Reading, Pennsylvania at the Tucker Carlson show for Alex Jones. It just ended. I just came out. I was in there talking to some of the crowd. I'm still processing it right now, but it is quite an amazing experience. One of the questions I was asking people is, when is the last time they thought in America that this many people came together to hear people talk about politics? And I don't think in our lifetimes, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. It was extraordinary. And if you're an InfoWars fan, if you've been following the show for a while, you really should have been here to see the crowd welcome Alex. It was amazing.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones.
When is the last time that you know of in America where this many people came around to one place to hear people talk about politics?
I just don't remember anything this large.
I don't know if there ever was another time quite like the times we're living in now.
This is the first I've ever seen it. I got both my sons here now. You look at the crowd here, I couldn't believe how many young people were here. It's awesome.
Never. Not in my 48 and a half years that I've been alive.
I think things have gotten so out of control that you can't not pay attention to it now. It's in your face. It's coming to your doorstep. It's coming to your school. It's coming to your business.
I think everybody should be talking with your fellow neighbors. You know, I even have some neighbors. They have some signs out front I might not agree with, but I still know him. He calls me over. I help him out. I needed a generator one time. He gave me an old generator. I fixed it up and used it on my house.
Do you think they're going to steal the election again?
That remains to be seen. We hope not, but people are working very hard. People are getting smarter, but they could very easily steal the election.
Well, they're going to try like hell, so we got to get out and vote by the numbers.
I think they will, absolutely.
Well, they're going to try.
Of course.
Well, I'm of the mindset that it's going to have to be postponed, that they're going to do something, whether a terrorist attack, a false flag, or even World War III, to postpone the election, because they know they can't cheat again.
They're going to steal it. If they don't, they're going to have their own January 6th moment where they're all up there attacking the Capitol, doing it their way.
And what do you think we need to do next if they do steal the election, as far as?
Well, I don't know. We're trying to find places to move out of the country, but other than that, I think there's no place to go. And I think we just have to, as this gentleman said, we have to work harder and put everything we have into bringing back, what is true and right.
What the Declaration of Independence commands us to do.
I think we have to understand that your neighbor is not your enemy. It's the people who are, have taken control through multinationals and the world, unfortunately, the world government, who are run by a bunch of NGOs and people who are faceless.
You know what? Sometimes I'm not even sure that the whole system isn't rigged to begin with. The whole system itself isn't rigged to just control the people.
There's going to be a war either way. Whoever gets installed, whoever goes to the White House, there will be a war regardless.
Well, actually, sorry to say, I think that is the answer, revolution. Because I've been of that mind since Obama was elected, that it's going to take a revolution to change it back to the republic the way it should be.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese. In Finding the Feds Missing Children, Child Trafficking in America by Muckraker.com, Anthony Rubin reports that since 2021, about 400 children a day are smuggled into the United States, processed by the federal government, and released into the country.
On August 19, 2024, the Department of Homeland Security announced that they had lost track of over 300,000 of these children. In June of 2024, a government insider from the Department of Health and Human Services provided Muckraker with a list detailing the names of over 8,000 alien children along with their last known addresses. So, we began an operation to find the missing children ourselves.
Carlos Arellano used to work for the NGOs, delivering these children throughout the United States.
I spent over 2 decades working for NGOs, and to be more specific, I spent about 7 years escorting children around the country, delivering them from point A to point B. One of the things that I used to do was I used to move kids in the middle of the night in private airfields, private charter planes. We had countless of kids, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds tell us that, oh, they woke us up at 3 a.m. and they took us to a private airfield where the entire plane was full of kids. And I asked them over and over again, did you see other adults on this plane, or were all the seats just children? And they would say the entire plane, every single seat was a child on it. And then they spoke on how they would land in New York and get on charter buses. And then when their sponsor finally picked them up, they picked them up at a park, at a public park in the middle of the night. And I would get confirmation from the sponsor as well. What time did you pick your child up? Did you pick them up at the airport or at the park? And they confirmed that as well. It was at 3 a.m. in the park. And these kids, all of them told stories about how they had little friends that they lost touch with, they never heard from again. We had a lot of kids in the New York area with their sponsors, where I asked them, hey, did you go through any fingerprints? Did you go through any type of background to get this child? They said no fingerprints, no background. All I did was sign a piece of paper, and they gave the kid to me. And then they turned around and gave the kid away 2 days later. The youngest child I moved was 3 months old. When I moved that 3-month-old, I wasn't given formula, I wasn't given diapers, because supposedly I was supposed to land where I was going to drop this child off at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and I ended up dropping the child off at 2 a.m. And one of the biggest issues we ran into on this trip was that a lot of these so-called sponsors were telling us, oh, we gave the child away the moment it got here. We gave it away after a day, or we gave it away after 2 days. And after they tell us, oh, well, they gave it away, there's no way to find this child anymore. It's a dead end. Those kids are lost forever, never going to find them again.
In their search, Muckraker.com found that these young children were officially living in dilapidated, vacant homes.
This was a house we showed up at in New York. This was in Amityville, New York on Long Island. It was a house where allegedly 2 young boys, 7 and 10, were sent to a sponsor there. And we showed up, and the house is totally derelict and shut down. Nobody lives there anymore. We tried calling the phone number associated with the sponsor, and it was just disconnected. 2 children were delivered to a sponsor that lives at this address. But as you can see, nobody lives here, and honestly, it doesn't look like anybody's lived here in quite a long time.
On a hidden camera, Border Patrol admits they know this is going on.
Have you seen that movie,
Sound of Freedom?
Yeah, Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Exactly like that shit happens.
You guys get the kids coming over here with the notes that are attached to them with the addresses, right? And a lot of times those addresses lead to like a sex trafficker or something, right? That's legit.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that we can't tell.
What's the issue though? Why can't you guys talk on camera?
It's the policies that we have, the things that we can and can't say. Honestly, though, I really wish there was more people like you.
Yeah.
Exposing this shit.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. It truly is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
It is a horrible thing.
Once they're detained and they're in the hands of Border Patrol and then HHS, that's it. Even if they say, listen, I just want to go back to my parents, I was smuggled here, they will not send the kid back home. They send him off at best to a foster care system.
See it all at Muckraker.com. For InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Mountain High Time, 2 hours of an organization to the madness, discussing the ever-changing dynamics of being both physically and mentally prepared for a plethora of possible outcomes to our future and present. A look into the latest technologies, new scientific discoveries, and how they might be used in connection to the human domain and controlling it, ancient cultures and places. Be warned. This is an opinionated look through headlines, guests that are not afraid to question the narrative, a little bit of crazy ramblings of a stoner conspiracy factus that pushes constitutional concepts. The place and the time are the same, another dimension we call Mountain High Time. Saturdays 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Mountain High Time, right here on Revolution.Radio, where information never sleeps and truth breaks the spell.
Hopefully I fixed the echo, but I'm not sure. Somebody's supposed to tell me here in a second if we have it echo free. Sorry about that. I was talking and I thought we were jiving, but I guess I wasn't. So let me play this one video here to make sure, because nobody came to tell me nothing if I was echoing. So we'll just find out right now. All right. It looks like we're legit on here with no echo, which is, then we don't have to play a video. So I hope all the people that were listening on Civilization Cycle, that's on 10 o'clock Thursday, right here on Revolution Radio, Studio A, we were talking about the incoming storm. And, you know, if people were going to be prepared, and it didn't look like some of it you could be prepared for. Let's look at some of that right now for you guys on YouTube. Yeah, we had some kind of software issue that I couldn't hear in my headset. Flooding. Yeah, massive floods. Mud and landslides added to Helen's damage. Storm leaves at least 53 dead and millions without power. And that's something that I was talking about the other night, is how, there would be so many people out of power. We were already looking at 1 million people just in Florida right as it hit the coast there. It says a day after Helen blew across the southeast U.S., residents and emergency responders are tackling washed out roads, flooded homes, widespread property damage. I seen, I think maybe a dam may have overflowed or broke. Dozens of people died as it came ashore at Florida's Big Bend region late Thursday as Category 4, and then barreled through Georgia and much of the southeast. Massive flooding in the Appalachians. I've seen bridges being washed away, all kinds of stuff. Horrible. But like I said, I hope some people heeded the warning and were prepared for this kind of thing, because I was talking about exactly this kind of thing where people inland are not really used to having, hurricane winds and torrential rains just dumped down, which includes a lot of flash flooding. Helen leaves U.S. South reeling from flooding and power outages. I mean, think about all the people that know that they live in the past, but yet for some reason, just year after year, these hurricanes blow in and people are deer in headlights and are not prepared. And some of it you cannot prepare for, like when your entire town floods, the bridges wash away and things like that. You should have been gone. And nobody takes that serious either. And I don't think that there's really, a way to exactly have foreknowledge. But I was mentioning Katrina. Everybody knew that was going to be horrible. And yet there wasn't the right steps taken to prevent a massive loss of life there. Wow. So it pounded everybody. Catastrophic for western North Carolina and the mountains. Life won't soon be the same for the communities of North Carolina mountains after Tropical Storm Helen, I think it's Helen, right? I keep saying Helene, I guess to be special. Heartbreak in the hills. The French board of Swannanoa? I don't even know. Let me make sure I get that. Swannanoa rivers swept through Asheville's well-known Biltmore Village and River Arch District, King Street and Boone. A postcard perfect college town turned into a rushing river. Interstate 40 is chopped up chains of closures. And one of the more alarming alerts sometimes say that the National Weather Service issued an all caps warning just after 11 a.m. Friday say that the Lake Lure Dam failure was imminent, that anybody downriver from it should have moved to higher ground immediately. Now, some of these stories are, this one's updated 4 hours ago, so I'm guessing that it didn't spill yet. But yeah, if you live in the path of stuff, it might not be over. The devastation can continue as more rain drops, and then, you get mudslides, landslides, and things like that, even after it stops raining. Tampa region emergency epicenter of Florida's death toll is rising there. They don't have a total number yet for all of the dead. Dozens dead is what this one says at the AccuWeather. Aftermath, dozens dead, historic flooding, millions without power amid catastrophic destruction. Once-in-a-generation hurricane unleashed catastrophic flooding, ferocious winds, and perilous conditions that extend hundreds of miles inland. Now, I'm not Nostradamus, but, Thursday I was talking about exactly that, and how there was going to be so many people there that were unprepared, deer in the headlights. They probably don't even know where the high ground is around them. And I was going to look for some of this flooding on Twitter right here for the YouTube viewers, and I'll describe it on the radio for you guys. I think all I have to do is hit hashtag flooding, and yeah, here's a landslide in Built Village in Asheville, North Carolina. As you're seeing there, right there, is so fast that if you were standing in the path of the mud and water, you'd be dead. And these people are out there filming with their phone. I don't know if they should just be filming it, or, they're lucky, obviously. We're seeing it on the internet, so obviously they didn't get hurt, but it just demonstrates in that video how horrible it is. Here's a farm with all their cattle are being led by dogs to safety. Truckers stranded in flash floods, Black Mountain, North Carolina. Drivers were rescued. And, I was seeing flooding even over in Italy, where people, not to call them stupid, but they were sitting on the other side of a glass while the water outside was higher than their head, and they're just filming it with their phone. Just crazy. Here's some scenes from North Carolina as houses are washing away in what used to be the road, and now it's a river with houses floating down it. 100 swift water rescues, about half a dozen of them around Asheville, and this house is collapsing. There's cars underwater. A landslide knocked a house off its foundation in Big Hungry River in Flat Rock, North Carolina. Just slid down the road. Here's some from Tennessee, where their entire house is like a river. It's flowing through. The guy's still filming with his phone. I mean, I guess thank you for showing us the images, but this shows me that you should have been prepared. And it's hard to talk mess. I don't live there. Breaking drone footage of Asheville, North Carolina's historic Biltmore Village is underwater after Helen tore through the area. Highway 107, bridge collapsing. Tennessee. Here's another one. A entire semi-truck and trailer is just floating down the road. Horrible flooding. I doubt that's a road is still there. There's just a pile of cars with water running around. It looks like The Walking Dead. Literally, like the Walking Dead series. Something. Instead of zombies, it's floodwaters. Depressing and heartbreaking is the scene in Horseshoe Beach, Florida. Everything destroyed there, it looks like. Just the whole neighborhood's flat, and all you see is lumber laying about. Here in Tennessee, a powerful flood just rips away the Kistner Bridge in Afton. Just taking it away. Here's a U-Haul floating down, downtown, I guess, because I'm looking at stores and things. Just complete, utter flooding. That's horrible. Let's switch gears for the last 10 minutes here. from death and destruction. So heart and prayers go out for all those people affected. Maybe in the future, all of these communities will remember that these things happen and be prepared. I don't know how you could prepare for some of that except for complete evacuation. Let me get a little of my stutter medication here. So I'm going to bring us around to this article. Sounds great. I'm drinking coffee right now, matter of fact. Delicious. Drinking 3 cups of coffee linked to preventing multiple diseases. According to this article from Study Finds, a new study suggests that your morning brew might be doing more for you than just perking you up. It could be protecting you from a range of serious heart conditions. Researchers working with an Endocrine Society have found that drinking moderate amount of coffee is associated with a lower risk of developing multiple cardiometabolic diseases. In simpler terms, your daily cup of coffee, or 3, might help ward off conditions like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even strokes. Consuming 3 cups of coffee, or 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per day, might help to reduce the risk of developing cardiometabolic multimorbidic in individuals without a, these words, cardiometabolic disease, says Dr. Chafu Qi, the lead author of the study from Suzhou Medical College in China, in this media release. So what exactly is cardiometabolic multimorbidity? CM. It's a scientific term for having 2 or more cardiometabolic diseases at the same time. Think it's a domino effect in your body when one health issue triggers another and then another. As a general population gets older and older, CM is becoming increasingly a concern for public health experts. But don't worry, you can just drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee and you'll be fine, evidently. This is a bizarre story out of India. Allegedly, a troop of monkeys stop a rape of a 6-year-old girl in India. According to this article from the Times of India, my daughter would have been dead by now when a monkey attack in UP foiled man's bid to rape 6-year-old girl. A troop of monkeys purportedly intervened to save the 6-year-old girl, a UKG student, from a rape attempt in Bangpat. Following her parents' complaint, the unidentified accuser was charged under the POCSO Act and is on the run, police say on Sunday. So after escaping, the upset girl ran home and told her parents about the troop of simians that had rescued her. The girl's grateful father credited the primates with this daughter's safety, saying, "My daughter was playing outside when the accused took her away." The man could be seen on nearby CCTV footage walking on a narrow lane with my daughter. He is yet to be identified, though. He also threatened my child that he would kill me, the distressed father reported. My daughter would have been dead by now if it weren't for the monkeys that had intervened. Now, isn't that like a cool story about a troop of heroic monkeys stopping some pervert pedophile from raping a 6-year-old girl? Maybe we should import those monkeys to the United States. I don't know. I'm just saying. This is also a pretty funny story from the San Francisco Gate. LAPD raid goes from bad to farce after their gun allegedly sucked into the MRI machine when a group of police officers that didn't understand the technology decided to insert their authority, even though the MRI machine did not respect said authority, and the magnetic pull of the machine overpowered one of the police officers. According to this article, an officer with the Los Angeles Police Department found out the hard way that you can't take metal near an MRI machine after their rifle flew out of their hands and became attached to the machine during a pot raid gone bad. And keep in mind that California is a place where recreational marijuana is legal, possession of marijuana is legal, and the sale of marijuana is legal, growing is legal, but yet they're still having pot raids. According to federal lawsuit filed last week, the incident details were described in a lawsuit filed by the owners of Los Angeles Medical Imaging Center, who alleged that their business was wrongly targeted by the LAPD during a raid in October of 23. The lawsuit was first reported on a law360.com. The owner of NoHo, wow. I hope this ain't like one of those clinics in the neighborhood, because that would be ironically funny. The owners of NoHo Diagnostic Center, are suing the LAPD after the multiple police officers. They're suing the LAPD and multiple Los Angeles police officers, alleging that they violated the business owner's constitutional rights and demanding an unspecified amount in damages. Officers allegedly raided the diagnostic center located in the Van Nuys neighborhood of Los Angeles, thinking it was a front for an illegal cannabis cultivation facility, pointing to higher than usual energy use and the distinct odor of cannabis plants, according to the lawsuit. Officers raided the facility on October 18, 2023, and detained the lone female employee while they searched the business. However, they didn't find a single cannabis plant and only saw a typical medical facility with rooms used for conducting x-rays, ultrasounds, CT scans, MRIs, the owner said. The officer then released the employee and told her not to call the manager, a lawsuit said. While they continued to wander around various rooms of the facility, the plaintiffs say the officer's behavior was nothing short of disorganized circus, with no apparent rules, procedures, or even a hint of coordination. At one point, an officer walked into the MRI room, passed a sign warning that metal was prohibited inside, with his rifle dangling in his hand with unsecured strap. The lawsuit said the MRI machine magnetic force then allegedly sucked the rifle across the room, pinning it against the machine. And the MR machine are a tube-shaped scanner that has incredibly strong magnetic fields to create images of the brain, bones, joints, and other internal organs. The officer then allegedly pulled a seal emergency release button that shut down the MRI machine, deactivating it and evaporating thousands of liters of helium gas and damaging the machine in the process. The officer then grabbed his rifle and left the room, leaving behind a magazine filled with bullets on the office floor, according to the lawsuit. Well, that doesn't sound very professional, does it? Anyway, I think we're rounding out the hour. And don't forget that Revolution.Radio is listener supported. That means, if you like hearing all these free speech, various topics and hosts, programs, and other, think about donating right there on the Revolution.Radio page and help them out. Let's see what we're going to talk about. I think I got some really cool stuff to talk about in the next hour. If I could find where I'm at. We're going to talk about dolphins. You guys remember last time we talked about those poor pink Indus dolphins, where the locals evidently really like them.
I am a boy. Boy! I am a boy. Boy! I am a boy. Boy! I am a boy? No! You are a girl! I am a dog. Dog! I am a dog. Dog! I am a dog. Dog! I am a dog? No! You are a girl! a Sandy.
That's very dirty.
I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
All right. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
All right. And we're back to our host, which is me, Ransom Godwin, on Mountain High Time, where the place and the time are the same. It's partly cloudy here with a chance of some pretty trippy stories. So let's get right into it. I brought you the story out of Pakistan, which is quite the unusual story, I must admit. The title of the article from change.org, which is ironic because we're talking about kind of when leftist ideas collide and just don't make sense in the Twilight Zone. Stop the dolphin raping tradition in Pakistan. Why this petition matters. In Sindh, near Sikir Barrage in Indus, there is a species of dolphin called the Indus dolphin. As pollution has gone unchecked in Indus, it has terribly impacted the dolphin's health in general. There is a specific species known as the blind dolphin, which has certain physical features that help it to see despite not having any eyes. There is an allegation that traditional people in rural Singh are raping the dolphins, a subspecies of the freshwater river dolphin found in the Indus River. The locals are well aware of the tradition, but don't dare condemn it, as it is supposedly a well-established tradition of the area and has been widely practiced. The locals liken dolphins' genitalia to the sexual organ of women. The article, titled Disgusting Tradition of Having Sex with Blind Dolphins in Sindh, I don't know how to say it, Sindh, was published in the Urdu blog Humsub, whatever that is. It goes on to allege that the extinct species is not only endangered. Well, then how is it extinct? What a stupid writer. It goes on to allege that the species is not only endangered by the polluted water, but also because of sexual assault. I'm sure that this is not the first time this news or information has come out. It must be known that the locals, how it is, was never highlighted by the progressives who could read local Urdu. I'm sure that the inhumane tradition is practiced by only a small group of people, yet not many are ready to question this matter, and it's disappointing. So basically, the Save the Whales people are mad at the Indians for raping the dolphins. This is kind of like they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. There's just some other things in other cultures that just don't mix with certain cultures. I'm sure that if I moved there, I would probably be offended by them raping those poor little pink dolphins. I don't know. But I did point out last time, and by the way, this is a real story. Here's another one from the Daily Pakistan. Is it a Sindh tradition to rape the Indus blind dolphins? Shocking claim spreads on Pakistani interwebs. A news article that surfaced on social media, the one I was just reading earlier this week, has shocked people with its grisly details of an alleged tradition in rural, Sindh, of raping the Indus dolphins, a subspecies of the freshwater river dolphins found in the Indus River. The article that I already read, Having Sex with Blind Dolphins, was published in blah, blah, blah. This is like a copy almost of the other article. Are they doing it? It appears that, well, they are. But don't feel too bad for the dolphins. As I mentioned last time, I don't know if turnabout is fair play. I'm not advocating that, you look the other way when these people are raping the dolphins, because my opinion, you should leave the animals alone. But just for the sake of argument, I'll be the devil's advocate. 7 reasons dolphins are kind of jerks. And this goes into some bizarre behavior of our saltwater counterpart, mainly the bottlenose dolphin, but all dolphins kind of have similar behaviors. But anyway, number one, why they're bad, why they're jerks. Flipper is probably everyone's favorite sea creature. If you forget about the little guy named Nemo, that's because dolphins are cute, intelligent, pretty, and friendly. You can even swim alongside them in some places. But don't let that adorable appearance fool you. These guys can be major jerks when they want to be. There's dolphin kidnappers. That's right, they're kidnappers. Dolphins are some of the most intelligent animals on Earth, but those larger than average brains are used for nefarious purposes sometimes. Males have a habit of coming together and stealing away females from other pods. Not unlike humans that used to raid for the babes, if you know what I'm saying. Like back in the hunter-gatherer ages when we just hunted and gathered our female companions. They don't like babies. During mating season, male dolphins view babies as competition for the mama's attention. Rather than concede victory to a small child in need of nurturing, they go to war. They attack the little porpoises until the baby quits breathing, and then they try to get to work at creating a replacement. Yeah. They also hate other species babies, too. Dolphins love to play with toys, but what do they do when a toy isn't readily available? Well, they use baby sharks instead. In one instance, they were caught using a baby shark as a makeshift volleyball, and, myself, I've seen them also do this with the bottlenose, do it with smaller species of porpoise and other dolphins, where they just toss it up and down until the thing dies. They kind of beat it to death, using it as a makeshift volleyball, tossing the poor thing back and forth in some sort of perverse game until humans jumped in and put a stop to, I guess, the one with the shark. But they do it all the time. They play with their food. Some bottlenose dolphins aren't content to gobble up their fishy dinner. No, they have to toy with it a little bit first. Dolphins in Georgia and South Carolina have been seen caroling fish out of the water into the shore to their deaths rather than simply eating them. They then follow the poor guys on the shore to collect them after they've died. And, the one that really, I guess, is the most relevant to the Pakistanis, where they don't look like complete jerks, is dolphins are also rapists. They hump everything that moves. Maybe this one doesn't exactly make them jerks, but it does seem to show that they have a one-track mind, somewhat like human perverts. Dolphins will attempt to mate with pretty much everything that moves. They engage in group mating with each other animals when they can, dead or alive, and they have even been known to try to have a go at humans. That's right, there's been plenty of cases of human dolphin rape, going from the dolphin to the human. I guess that's human rape from dolphin, or dolphin raping the human. I don't know how you would. Anyway, it's interspecies sexual assault. They don't respect boundaries, not unlike humans. Orcas are the largest species of dolphin, and they have an appetite for seals. However, seals like to make their homes on shelves of ice along with penguins, and rather than in the water where they're easily accessible. You'd think orcas would respect personal space, but, they wait for seals to come back onto the water before attacking. But no, orcas actually create waves by swimming in unison that wash the poor little animals off the ice so they can snack on them. Dolphins are still pretty awesome creatures, but you might want to watch your back next time you get in the water around said dolphins. I don't really think that excuses these guys from raping these poor little blind dolphins on the river. I don't know. Let's move on. Bad omen. Rain causes pyramid to collapse in whatever the name is. So I got an AI to do this story for me because I couldn't pronounce the words. So I'm just going to use the AI to do it. Let me see if I got the right one. Excuse me, I have so many files. So let me find it real quick. It should be easy. My face is on it. There we go. Is this the one?
Los Angeles 2028 organizers said Saturday they will force
That's the wrong one. Here we go. This is it. And for you guys on YouTube, this was kind of an experiment to show you how far the AI is, because this is a really cheap generic version where I've cloned my voice and my image to do stories faster. And I was just playing around, but check it out. Oh, I gotta push play. There we go.
Hello, welcome to Mountain High Time. I'm your host, Ransom Godwin, a stoner like you looking through the headlines. Let's get to it. First up, chilling omen. Ancient pyramid collapses in Mexico in supernatural sign of impending doom, warns descendants of tribe who built it. The Mexican pyramid partly collapsed as a result of recent torrential rain. A Mexican pyramid used by an ancient tribe for human sacrifices has caved in a supernatural sign of impending doom. Descendants of the indigenous tribe who built it fear a huge natural disaster is about to hit after devastating storms ravaged one of two twin pyramids. Pictures show the structure has partly collapsed after heavy downpours on July 30th washed away one side. The pyramid was built by ancestors of the modern Purepecha people, a bloodthirsty tribe that defeated the Aztecs. Historians say the ancient Purepecha tribe used the Yakata pyramids for human sacrifices to their most important god Curiqueri. The Yakata pyramids are found in the archaeological site of Ihuatzio in the Michoacan state. Tariaquiri Alvarez said the storm may indicate impending doom, as per their indigenous traditions. He said, "For our ancestors, the builders, this was a bad omen that indicated the proximity of an important event. Before the arrival of the conquistadors, something similar happened, which for the Purepecha worldview of that time was because the gods Nanaquerhepiri and Kari Curiqueri were displeased. The Purepecha defeated the Aztecs and ruled for 400 years before the Spanish invasion in 1519.
Wow. The guy looked just like me. That was pretty weird, huh? A bad omen, they say. Maybe so, because look, the world is flooding. And, you know, we've been talking a lot on Civilization Cycle about the amount of water in the atmosphere. So it's not really, you know, a mystery. Let me put this on screen for everybody on YouTube. And what it is a graph that shows the northern and the southern hemisphere and how much water is in the atmosphere. And by this graph, I know you can't hear it on the radio, but on this graph here, it shows that right when Hunga Tunga exploded, the entire northern and southern hemisphere became inundated and a lot more water. So there's no mystery why it's flooding everywhere, why there's a lot more water in play for the climate to use. This isn't climate change. This isn't global warming. None of those things. This is a volcano that just put out massive amounts of water into the atmosphere a few years ago, and it's still coming down. And that's why it's flooding all over the planet. And if we have more of these kind of things in the near future, well, things might be changing. Areas that once were desert may become less deserty. And pyramids and other things may collapse. But think about this. All that stuff in Tennessee and North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida was only built in recent times, like within the last 50 to 100 years, all of it. This is 1,000 years it's been sitting there before rain finally knocked part of it down. And how creepy was that AI of me? Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Hidden structures discovered under the surface of Mars. And if you know about the 3 volcanoes there, these structures are right under those. Or 4 supposed volcanoes, the big mounds on Mars. So according to scientists, they have found a planet where they believe ancient oceans once flowed, massive volcanoes towered above the landscape, and mysterious structures are hidden beneath the surface. What planet is that? Well, it's Mars. That's the one. I don't know why they worded it that way, because they're silly. This isn't some strange world in deep space, astronomers say. These amazing discoveries are actually waiting for us on Mars. And, not to get into the Anunnaki tales, but there is a portion of that where they talk about this idea of Mars being a way station, kind of where they stop before they get there to Earth. One of their kings even supposedly died that fought Anu and was expelled, and he had to go live on Mars for a little while, according to the story. And then he died there, and supposedly they made a monument for him on Mars, according to those stories. But this is irrelevant. These dense structures could be volcanic in origin, or they could be compacted material due to an ancient impact, explains Dr. Bart Root from Delft University of Technology in a media release. In other words, these hidden features could be the remnants of a long extinct volcano or the scars left by massive space rocks crushing into Mars billions of years ago. According to the researchers, however, that's where these things get really interesting. There are around 20 features of varying size that have been identified, dotted around the area surrounding the northern polar cap, one of them which resembles the shape of a dog. Anyway, these are very interesting structures. By combining this gravity data with information from NASA's InSight mission about Mars' crust and interior, the researchers created a global density map of the planet. This map revealed that the mysterious northern features are significantly denser than their surroundings, about 300 to 400 kilograms per cubic meter denser. And weirdly, there's weird electromagnetic phenomenon coming from those places, and more dense gravity. I don't know. I guess I can't. We'll have to cut this out of the YouTube version. But it's just a horrible story. Let me find the girl's name. Alexis Lorenz. So if you want to look up Alexis Lorenz, and just, I don't know, it's something to think about. But let's move on. Let's move on to the AI control grid that is the world we live in. The UN's proposing a global AI watchdog to curb misinformation. And, just reading the headline without even reading the article, I know that this is just Big Brother 1984. This is a system to make sure that nobody, anywhere, will be able to show their own information without this AI censoring it in real time. A total nightmare of censorship. Let's see what they're saying. There's a joke about the United Nations. It goes something like this. If you want something done with maximum deliberation and minimal speed, ask the UN to take it on. It's not exactly a gut buster, but in the world of global governance, it lands because it's true. But now, the world is swirling in algorithms and misinformation and artificial intelligent beings who, unlike toddlers, never sleep. The UN has decided to enter the AI ring. Yes, that's the same UN that's still trying to get all 193 of its member states to agree what's for lunch. So what's happening here? A new report suggests the United Nations wants to establish its own AI babysitting service. Imagine something akin to the International Panel of Climate Change, but instead of trying to save us from melting glaciers, it's here to save us from AI-driven future where deepfake videos are supposedly a major problem. So they're using the guise of these fake productions made by AI, thinking that people are so stupid they won't be able to tell the difference, which, unfortunately, they're getting so good that may be true. But who are they to decide what you look at and what you want to see? They let those people believe they're whatever animal they identify with. They let those people make believe that they're, a princess when they were born a prince. And all of those things. So why not let people imagine what they want in the form of digital media? Well, that's because we need to control what you see, hear, and think. Digital IDs are becoming a reality. And if you're going to interact with the web, you're going to be forced into a position where you have to get an internet identification so that you can access the Internet of Things, that making you an idiot. IDI, right? It's your IDI, and you're going to have to use it with your biometrics on everything. Anyway, this is a story from Reclaim the Net. Digital IDs are coming to social media in California's crackdown. That's right. They want to make sure that there is an identification attached to any form of media, social media or other. So you can't get on the internet as an anonymous person. And basically what they're saying is that you have no Fourth Amendment when it comes to the internet, which I disagree with. I think you have the right to privacy in all aspects of your life. And no one should be able to force you to be identified if you haven't committed any crimes. You hear me? For those free speech, what do you call them? Free speech, God, lost auditors. I lost it. Apple's also expanding its digital ID project in California. You're not going to be able to use anything without proving who you are with a piece of... you're probably going to have to give DNA everywhere you go. You never know. That's how it's going. Anyway, China's fleet of warships is eclipsing the U.S. as tensions rise amongst the nations looking forward to nuclear war. But China's newest nuclear-powered attack submarine sank in the spring, a major setback for one of the country's priority weapon programs, the U.S. official said. So, well, poor them. Poor them. But don't worry about it. They're still going to go push ahead with World War III. We'll just do it in the Middle East. We'll do it in the Ukraine as we start pushing weapons of our making over into the Ukraine. And I feel bad for those Ukrainians because they've got talked into ethnically cleansing themselves. I mean, think about it. After the coup in 2014, they've been on a path of destruction that's going to end in every last male's paternal haptype disappearing off of the planet Earth. I mean, right now they're trying to conscript old men and young boys to do the work because all of the military-aged men are dead. And it looks like Israel's talking, Lebanon and some other countries in the Middle East into committing suicide. Or maybe it's Israel that is committing suicide also, as this becomes a world war. And that is what we're talking about. You're talking about all of the breakaways of the Soviet Union are going to start taking sides, either NATO or Russia. You have the BRICS out there. Nations are taking sides on what kind of money and monetary systems they're going to be using. And as the lines separate the two sides, this will be a big war eventually. And the people in the U.S. seem to love it. The neocons and the Democrat and Republican establishments are all for war. They don't care if it's in Ukraine or if we're using Israel or Israel's using us, however you want to put it, to start a massive war in the Middle East. We keep seeing headlines like Kiev launches mass drone attack at Russia the day after Putin's nuclear warnings, because they don't seem to care about those warnings. Why is that? Well, it seems NATO's pushing them in it. And then you have weird stories about destabilization all over the world, like Argentina's narco capital sees mysterious drop in murders. Well, it's not a mystery. They're sending them out of their country or they're locking them up. That's what's going on. And in the case of Venezuela, they just send them up here. They send them up to the States to establish new businesses and new ways to funnel money into their criminal organizations. Why wouldn't they lock them up? It's easier to send them to the U.S. Go commit crime there. Who cares? Earth will capture a second moon this weekend, which is already happening, and it's going to fly around. A lot of people think, every time one of these rocks go by, that there's all these people on the internet talking about, oh my God, it's going to hit us. This is it. This is the life-ending extinction level event. It's Ellen. But it never happens. But it could happen. And the truth is, most of these rocks fly by the Earth only being spotted after they're on the way away from us. Meaning that a lot of these are unseen until they get near the Earth. Or not at all until they're leaving. So I wouldn't get too concerned, because the truth is, there's nothing you can do about it. Nada. And for you guys want to know the KP index, it is now at slightly above 2, so not that bad. Let's keep going here. I know I have some cool news articles here. Where was it? Here it is. This is what we want. Woman 79 fell down while hiking, and a stranger carried her for hours on his back. Now, I wonder how many people are helping each other along the path of this storm. It's kind of why I had this article queued up. You should be prepared yourself, but we're never going to survive major emergencies without community and civilization. It's just not going to happen. So, hats off to these young people that carried this woman out of the forest for hours on their back. One guy carried her on his back. She was an experienced hiker, but she's 79 years old, and she usually hikes with family or friends to go visit a spot where she dumped ashes of her loved one and twisted her ankle and then found herself stranded. But thanks to the strangers who helped her. I don't know where all my articles from today was. Oh yeah, definitely wanted to talk about this. Scared by violence, lawmakers plan for possible mass casualty event. Now you might have seen this. It kind of sparked up the story. But in essence, if I could talk right, all it is the government bitching and complaining that they're scared that one day the people won't like what they're doing. And so they're planning ahead, to remake the way the government works the way they want it to, because they are scared that they're going to be assassinated. And they're using stuff like Trump's assassination attempts to kind of push this fear. But if you've been paying attention to these bungholes for a long time, they've been planning to turn their sights on the American people all the way back as far as 2001 and beyond into the past, where they set up all of these things that list us, and they use new terminology. Like domestic terrorism was the first one that came out. And then we had, enemy combatants used to describe Americans. And it went from there. And now, after January 6th, they're allowed to use the word insurrectionist, because what they want to do is call you an insurrectionist. They want to call you, the American people, an insurgency for wanting the laws that are supposed to be intact and the basis of our entire civilization, which is the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the amendments of inalienable rights that are in there. They don't like it. And that way, because they don't like it, they view you as the enemy of the American people, because you're the people that want to keep that. And this is all this is, this mass casualty event, is them pretending that people are after them. And why would they think that unless they were up to no good, in which we know a lot of these so-called politicians are actually treasonous snakes who are not in any way, shape, or form looking out for the American people, and time again sell us out to major corporations, international, NGOs doing things from climate change to starting proxy wars in our name. And it's disgusting. But people in the United States don't seem to worry about anything. As this example on this article, whatever. Angelinos shrug at recent quakes decades after the last big one. And just like the people that are in Tornado Alley or in places where the hurricane will hit, the mass amount of the population always leaves it to the government to help them or bail them out or save them. And the truth is that's not going to happen. Not only can most of the time they can't help you, but sometimes they won't help you. So you have to be saving yourself. You have to be your own savior. You have to prep and plan according to your own needs, because if the big one hit in Los Angeles, guess what? It's going to be a massive death toll. And not because they didn't know an earthquake was going to happen, and not because there wasn't plans by the government to do something about it. It's because each individual person didn't plan for it. So there's just going to be millions of people running around, deer in the headlights type of people. The phone zombies are going to be the first to go, because they're not going to have a clue. They're going to be glued to their phone trying to find the answer. And if you've ever seen anyone like in the public getting a fight or getting an accident or any kind of emergency, the first thing they do is start obsessively grabbing their phone and acting like their phone is some kind of answer to their immediate problems when it's not. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen if we do have a major earthquake. It'll be just like the hurricane that just rolled through. And people will be totally unprepared for it. And I'm going to skip onto this, and we'll try to, move on past it because of its disgusting nature. But I wanted to, point out that countries around the world, and even states within our own country, are now starting to take the pedophiles serious, it seems. Italy opens the door to chemical castration for rapists and pedophiles. And the reason I bring that up is because several states in the United States has put the death penalty now for child molestation, which I applaud if they are indeed beyond a reasonable doubt proven that they are criminals in the way that you're accusing them. And now you're seeing a resurgence of ending the death penalty, ironically, as soon as we start adding things to the reason to die. But I don't know why everybody's getting up in arms about that, when you know that countries around the world are now allowing their citizens to commit basically state-sponsored suicide. I'll probably have to cut that off of YouTube too. Anyway, let's stop talking about that and the fact that your government can, offer you an assisted suicide. If you live in Canada, first they had it for, terminal illness. And then they were like, how about, if you're a drug addict, you can do it too. How about if you're just depressed or you have Down syndrome or something? We can talk about it. We can even help you financially if you want to just disappear. Weird. Anyway, I was reading this article. It has nothing to do with what I was just saying, but you're kind of on Mountain High time, so give me a break. Mushroom learns to crawl after being given robot body, and this just blows my mind, because think about it. What other things out there, what other animals, life forms would expand their consciousness if given technology? So engineers have created a new type of robot that places living fungi behind the controls. The biohybrid robot uses electrical signals from an edible type of mushroom called a king trumpet in order to move around and sense its environment. Developed by interdisciplinary team from Cornell University in the U.S. and Florence University in Italy, this machine could herald a new era of living robotics. as if the world wasn't scary enough, with the merger of the organic and the technological, as far as nanobots and other things in the hydrogel platform, microscopic things. I don't know how much I can say on YouTube, but anyway, this is kind of down the same avenue. Living systems respond to touch, they respond to light, and they respond to heat. They respond even to some unknowns like signals, said Anand Mishra, a research associate at the Organic Robotics Lab at Cornell. That's why we think, okay, if you wanted to build future robots, how can we work in an unexpected environment? We can leverage these living systems, and any unknown input comes in, the robot will respond to that. So think about it. Now you got, fungus bots, I guess. Fungus bots, which is crazy, because when I hear this kind of thing, all I can think about is the fact that you can they're now merging living brains from humans into computers. They're putting things in people. There's things at the nano level that they're doing. I can't get into all of it or we'll just get banned completely off. But you're living in the future and you don't even know it, where the biology of the planet and the technology created by, probably us. I don't know if that's certain. But it's merging, and it's going to keep merging into the future until we do not recognize the planet we live on. Let's move on. Yeah, I forgot what I put up there. Yes, more central floods. We talked about that. That's the Tonga. That's the Tonga doing that. At least 44 deaths now reported as catastrophic destruction. Millions without power. Let's see how many is out of power. I think I have the power thing up. Yeah. So right now, customers out, only down to 265,000 in Florida. 656,000 in Georgia. There is almost 1 million still out of power in South Carolina. 500,000 in North Carolina. About 40,000 in West Virginia. Seems 100,000 are out of power in Ohio. 20,000 in Indiana. Kentucky, 60,000 out of power, and 30,000 still in the state of Tennessee. All in all, not that bad, considering that we just had, a massive storm roll through and drench everybody. So, also on the headlines, back to World War III, Iran warns Hezbollah's leader, death will not go unavenged. That's right, we killed, or not we, well, you might as well say we, because it's intertwined, the United States and Israel, as far as military actions. But Israel actually has killed the leader of Hezbollah. And, they say that Nasrallah something got wiped out. Death from above, how Israel wiped out Hezbollah's chiefs, plural, one by one, as assassination of terror leader leaves Middle East on knife's edge. I thought they blew him up. Yeah, here it is. I think they did blow him up. Hussein Nasrallah and other senior leaders of Hezbollah were under siege as they gathered Friday afternoon in a bunker more than 60 feet beneath the surface of bustling working-class neighborhood in South Beirut. A series of Israeli attacks had killed many of the Lebanese militant group's senior leaders, blown up its electronic devices, pagers, cell phones, tablets, solar panels, radios, and they said they couldn't do that just a few years ago. Some planned to use the meeting to express frustration that Iran was restraining them from responding more forcefully to the Israeli attacks, according to people familiar with Hezbollah's discussions. Anyway, Israel's Air Force had struck the bunker with about 80 tons of bombs, according to several people familiar with the matter. The attack used a series of timed, chained explosions to penetrate the subterranean bunker, a senior Israeli military officer said. When it was over, a pillar of orange smoke rose above Beirut, and Hassan Nasrallah, a fierce and charismatic Islamist who had led Hezbollah for more than 3 decades, was dead. Not to mention all the people on the surface that, collateral damage and whatnot. Don't worry about that. Israeli has proved it has the most impressive military in the world, according to these guys on here. Yeah. So they're going to spread that out until we have Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Syria, all of those nations in a state of war, which will spread until the Shatter Belt regions in between Western Europe and Russia, so basically all of Eastern Europe, starts fighting each other and taking sides until we're in a full-blown world war. Isn't that nice? Senior Iran Guards general killed in Israeli-Lebanon strike, according to their state media. Exclusive Iran Supreme Leader taken to secure location, sources say. Did you know the old Iran leader, the one that, before the CIA threw him out and put these other kind of guys in there, he actually, was pro-Western countries. So it was weird that we, replaced him. Even the guy, I think his son is still alive today. He's a big Trump fan and is a Israeli ally. Isn't it weird how the CIA flipped that to be so destabilized? U.S. orders diplomats' families to leave Lebanon. According to the State Department, the U.S. State Department on Saturday ordered the families of embassy personnel in Beirut to leave the country and has authorized the departure of some staff as the Israeli-Hezbollah conflict escalates. Well, maybe some of the bigger nations should just nuke the whole area and then everybody will stop fighting over it for a couple 100,000 years. I don't know. Not really. I don't want that. In Acapulco and across Mexico, violence poses a huge test for the new socialist president. Gunfire, murders, and threats, insecurity, and part of everyday life in much of Mexico and coming to the southern United States and various Democrat-ran cities across the U.S. And one of the main challenges awaiting Claudia Sheinbaum when she becomes president on Tuesday. Shooting this month in the Pacific resort of the city of Acapulco left 2 people wounded in the seafront bar. But that's okay because they're killing and kidnapping people all over the place as the entire country is segregated into different cartels, some infiltrating the government there, some probably CIA-backed, others probably messing around with the other parties that seem to be trying to destabilize over here while we're destabilizing over there. And it all amounts to the American drug mules smuggling fentanyl in the United States. And my opinion is on Americans pumping fentanyl or helping cartels in China and other entities pump fentanyl in the U.S. is they should be tried for treason. But not just them, of course, all of the people in the U.S. government that's allowing it, facilitating it, and helping it, murdering U.S. citizens with fentanyl. It's treason. There's nothing else you can say about it. The teenager practiced driving from his apartment in San Diego down to Tijuana and back on the orders of criminals he was working for in Mexico. He rehearsed how he would respond to questions from the U.S. border officers he tracked when the drug-sniffing dogs took a break. You know what he didn't know? And this is how a lot of people get busted. When they come up to the border, they go, American citizen, which is something that none of us are going to say. We're just going to say American. But, if you pull up and they say citizenship, and you're like, American citizen, they're going to say, get out. Get out. We need to look in there. But, they let millions just go by. Millions of tons of the crap, probably, of different drugs. They just let it go by. So this is the weird thing about Diddy and all of that, which is a good time to play this video that I got, if I could find it. Yeah. Because, everybody's talking about Justin Bieber and what happened at Diddy's place. It's just weird. Let me see if I can find this video. We'll play that. If I can find it here. Might be looking in the wrong folder. So many. Oh, here it is. There we go. We'll just play this.
can hear the girls all scream soon as our wheels touch down. Junkets in Tokyo, fashion shoots in Milan, then a private jet to Madison Square Garden. 36-week-long tours, 10 singles on the charts. So hear my message, girl, 'cause it comes from the heart. Help me, my parents sold me to a big producer in the record industry. He makes me do things that I don't want to do. Please call child services or maybe SVU. You gotta help me. My parents sold me to a big producer in the music industry. They took the cash and left me to these screaming masses. If I don't know this, I'd take those dancing classes. I tried to run away one time in Belarus. They beat me with phone books so that I wouldn't bruise. I just can't take no more rich kids' bar mitzvahs or paid sleepovers with Saudi princes. Blinked SOS in Morse code. Once at the VMAs, they sprayed me with a hose in a pit for 3 days. And when my sales drop off, they'll take me to a resort and let rich businessmen hunt me down for sport.
Hold up, I'm just coming in on the song to check on what y'all talking about. Don't think of me as a record exec, but a father figure and pal. This kid's a real prankster. This is one of his practical jokes. Thank you for your concern, but there's nothing to see here, folks. That's just exhaustion talking. Poor little guy's tuckered out. I'll take him back to the tour bus and we'll get him straightened out. There is no box. I don't even know what that means. Now we gotta run, but for your trouble, here's some front row seats.
Gotta help me. My parents sold me
Could I get a little help here?
producer
We've got a coat on.
industry.
We're
Oh
sorry.
God, please
Very
help
tired.
me.
Life
Take
on the
some
road.
action. This didn't work out for Michael Jackson. Someone help me. Don't ignore what I said. They'll sacrifice me.
We'd like to thank all of you for your support. The new album drops on the 22nd.
That was pretty funny. I must admit it. And the poor guy that made that video, he did. A lot of people conspiracize. Conspiracy? Or no, they say there was a conspiracy to kill that guy that made that video that was obviously portraying Justin Bieber. So anyway, according to this article here, if I could put it back on the screen. Fears grow for stressed Justin Bieber as he struggles to juggle fatherhood with explosive Diddy allegations. Justin Bieber is desperately trying to shut out the mounting speculation about his relationship with Sean Diddy Diddler, the Diddler Deed Combs, and focused on being the first-time father, but those close to him are fearful he is becoming increasingly stressed under the pressure. Will Diddy Epstein himself next? Oh, and, you know, according to that music video, they had other hits like Amber Alert and stuff like that, if you get the joke. Tech companies scouring the country for electricity to power artificial intelligence. Are we increasingly finding there is a waiting list? In many places, the nation's high-voltage electric wires are running out of room. There's connection points locked up by data centers for AI. New factories are charging infrastructure for electric vehicles. A mad dash to lock up available power has ensued. The tech industry is pinballing from the market to the next, looking for places that the capacity to connect campuses that would consume up to a gigawatt of power, about as much as San Francisco uses in, it doesn't say. Some requests are as much as 4 to 5 times as large as whatever that is. But wires are getting so crowded that some prospective data centers customers, which request far more power than other users, are being told that they may have to wait until the next decade to get the power that they are seeking. Others are receiving less power than they expected. Well, you better figure out that Tesla stuff, how the power runs along the atmosphere, or in between the atmosphere and the earth, or in the ether, or some such noise, and power your stuff from that. Anyway, disruption looms as East Coast ports and longshoremen prepare for strike. Well, too late. They got struck. It's all messed up. Hopefully not too many people died. And, prayers for the storm people. Let's move on from the storm people. In a global game of influence, China turns to cheap and effective tool, fake news. That's funny, like if the Chinese Communist Party hasn't been altering their news since the inception of their Communist Party. Just saying. Russia and China defy the West in the deep Arctic. I never could say that, Svalbard Archipelago has become a critical stepping stone for projecting power across one of the world's most sensitive regions. We're going to have all that war going on in the Arctic. I feel bad for the toes of those soldiers that fight there. Saudi executes 198 in 2024, highest in over 30 years. Isn't that weird how everybody's like executing people and like going to war and like the food's poisoned and the air's poisoned and the water's like poisoned and like everybody's infertile and like can't have children and stuff. That's weird, huh? I wonder why that is. I don't know. Hey, check this out. Saudi Arabia to expand their cloud seeding program. Isn't that nice? Maybe that'll help them flood some more. Anyway, we're rounding up the hour. So I thought, I'll just play this comical song one more time because it was funny and I think you guys get it.
I may be a little kid, but I have been around. Can hear the girls all scream soon as our wheels touch down. Junkets in Tokyo, fashion shoots in Milan, then a private jet to Madison Square Garden. 36-week-long tours, 10 singles on the charts. So hear my message, girl, 'cause it comes from the heart. Help me, my parents sold me to a big producer in the record industry. He makes me do things that I don't want to do. Please call child services or maybe SVU. You gotta help me. My parents sold me to a big producer in the music industry. They took the cash and left me to these screaming masses. If I don't know this, I'd take those dancing classes. I tried to run away one time in Belarus. They beat me with phone books so that I wouldn't bruise. I just can't take no more rich kids' bar mitzvahs or paid sleepovers with Saudi princes. Blinked SOS and Morse code. Once at the VMAs, they sprayed me with a hose in a pit for 3 days. And when my sales drop off, they'll take me to a resort and let rich businessmen hunt me down for sport.
Hold up.
Will Diddy diddle himself? Is everybody really worried about that right before the election? I think he'll probably get some network interviews. I mean, it's like totally possible he just might Epstein himself. Isn't he in there with that criminal that stole all the money, that was funneling the money into the Democratic Party? What's his name? Sam Friedman, or he got Friedman or something like that. Anyway, I think Diddy and him are bunkmates. Kind of makes you wonder which one is the power bottom. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe it's just diddling. They're just diddling, waiting for the diddler's court date. Now, I'm thinking it's going to go either one or two ways. He's going to have, interviews from Oprah, his buddy. Oh, wait, maybe she'll distance herself from him now. But anyway, there'll be these interviews and he'll say, oh man, they just got it all mistaked. I didn't do nothing. I think what it is, though, is the Diddy is actually the cover up for the Epstein. So everybody's going to talk about Diddy and who he diddled and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to forget that Epstein and his girlfriend, Epstein got Epsteined and his girlfriend got convicted of child sex trafficking to no one. Nobody. Who got arrested? Nobody. See you later. Mountain High Time. Revolution.Radio. Oh, I forgot about you guys. My bad. See you later, folks.
That was very dirty.